Ask the Mayor, your chance to ask the Mayor of Weymouth, Bob Hedlund, questions about the town of Weymouth and or anything else that you have concerns about. Ask the Mayor is pre-recorded. And now, here's Bob Hedlund.
Welcome to Ask the Mayor. This is your opportunity to write in, text, Facebook message, email, call, and get questions in that we answer pretty spontaneous here on Ask the Mayor. So once again, joining us is our citizen inquisitor / citizen advocate, Mr. Jim Melody, who will take the helm of this show and get into some of the questions that we've received over the last couple of weeks since our last taping.
You know, and it's hard not to remain topical, Bob. We get these questions certainly that come in on a weekly basis, but the news of the day is it's raining like crazy. Of course, spring has sprung. We're here in early April. And to me, I guess the first question I'd like to ask that wasn't submitted, we kind of started kicking around before the show started. This is traditionally the beginning of your budget planning session, is it not? Your budget runs from August 1st through July 31st, or is it July 1st?
We get into the budget a lot earlier than now.
Okay.
And it's obviously kind of an ongoing process through the year, but we start the process beginning of the year where we sit with different department heads, talk about what their priorities are going to be, ask them to get back to us with their recommendations. We give them actually their marching orders in the sense that we know what our projections are going to be based on what we anticipate state aid to be, based on what we anticipate local receipts to be. We're able to make some projections based on our revenues and then kind of, give them a guide in terms of what we think their window is going to be for their budget number in each department. Of course, the big issues that affect that, obviously, were ongoing collective bargaining, contract negotiations, depending upon how those go, those obviously impact the bottom line. What the final state aid numbers are going to be. So those are two kind of moving parts to the equation as we go through the process.
And the fiscal year starts July 1st, right? I said July 1st or August 1st, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
It's July 1st all the way through. Well, it's an interesting time, I'm sure, and all the best. This is your second go-round as far as planning the budget for the town, correct?
Yeah, and it went pretty good last year. We were without a CFO. We had a big issue going through the hiring for a CFO process, as we've talked about in previous shows. Chief of Staff Ted Langell, who had some background in municipal finance, handled that process, went well. We had great cooperation from not only the council, but department heads as we went through the process. The school committee and the school department, worked well with us, and that relationship has actually improved this year. I think for the first time.
Phenomenal.
I think for the first time since we've had this form of government, our city form of government, I think this may be the first time that the mayor's budget recommendation was actually then advanced by the school committee in its vote. That didn't get a lot of publicity, but I think we've demonstrated to the school committee our commitment to working on increased funding, but also addressing their needs list. We were able to do that last year. And I think that gave them a level of confidence to kind of trust us a little more, and that trust that may have not been there in the past. So Ted's done a great job on that. The new superintendent has, I think, improved. Not that there was anything negative with Dr. Salim, but I think with the change in the administration on the town side and on the school department side, it's just kind of created a clean slate.
Dr. Woodward.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that process has gone well. We're cooperating in a lot of areas, not just in IT, but maintenance and things like that, to try to bring some increased efficiency to both the town side and the school department.
Well, I know historically it's been contentious, so those are the most recent years. And I remember last year the school committee and everybody being excited about the direction it was heading in. So she seems to be doing a great job. Obviously, she's a product of the Weymouth school system and a hometown person that everybody's rooting for. So I've got kids in the school system, and I know the scuttlebutt is everybody's excited about where she's trying to go.
The process went good last year, but it's improved even on top of that. I'd say the process has been great this year.
Dynamite. Well, we're moving forward then, and I guess since we're looking at things on the budget line item,
one final thought,
please.
One final thought on that. I'd say the budget process has been great this year. despite the fact that the available revenues to us, the picture is not as positive as it was last year.
Oh, no kidding! You potential?
Yeah, we were able to, access some funds through an overlay account that was here and some Comcast funds that were laying around, if so to speak, the things that aren't available to us this year. But nonetheless, as I said, the process has been great this year.
You're seeing the capital improvements, just the eyeball test as you drive around town. It seems like there's a lot of shovels on the ground and a lot of construction going on, and it seems like we're on the move.
Yeah, I'd have to kind of think about it for a minute to list all, but not to delay the next question. But we had our groundbreaking for the work at Level Field, so we have that overall town field improvement initiative going on, which covers, I won't go through the whole list, but it covers most of the fields here in Weymouth. We have final design on the Emery Estate Park. We have construction underway at Osprey Overlook Park, where we're turning the old landfill into public space, passive recreation.
You just negotiated some great concessions with them. I've been following that in the newspaper down by Weymouth Port, that new development. That on the private side of development, the project at Seascape. Yeah, we negotiated we think a very decent community benefit plan and program with the folks at Seascape that totals about $260,000, which will go to a whole bunch of things, almost all relating to North Weymouth. Dynamite. So we're on the move, and again, you just kind of included in part of your delivery, but the next question was, and it's kind of germane to the budget conversation, is the development of the Emery Estate and all the stuff that's cooking up there. So any updates? And that's actually our first question that comes in from Ken in Weymouth, who asked, what are the plans for the Emery Estate? I know they're under development, or in development, but anything you want to talk about?
We won't spend a lot of time on this because I think we've covered it on the show a lot, but also WETC has been running, or had run, the initial, and hopefully they're going to run the final design meeting. So they've covered two of the Emery Estate Park meetings that were held, and we have a new committee that was formed to come up with hopefully a viable plan that would allow the building, the Emery Estate itself, the Emery House, to remain. Their charge is to look at a model, assuming that we had the funds to bring the house up to a usable condition. Their charge is to determine if there's some viable model that would allow the house to continue in some way and function and be self-sustaining. If we can address that issue, then we can work towards identifying funding to bring the house up to a usable state. But we don't want to invest in the house if it's just going to continue to sit there and have no plan to maintain it. That's the big question, is the maintenance of the house. So that's where we're at. The park, I think the timeline I have rattling around in my brain somewhere, the park would be underway this spring, construction. Contract would be awarded, and it would be done, I'm going to blank out because when? Yeah, it'd be next spring. All these timelines on the different field projects is confusing me, but I think that project would be done in the spring. And we had, by the way, not just the public meetings, but we had 2 sit-downs in my office with neighbors who were concerned about some aspects of the plan, and we think that we did a pretty good job of addressing their concerns. Nobody's going to be 100% happy, but we get them up to the 90% range, we're happy. We obviously get, as we're wandering around town, different folks come up to us, because or me anyway, because I'm involved with this program with you, and there's a lot of interested people wanted to enter that building. I've never been inside that building, for instance. I don't know if you had been, prior to, your career in politics, but there's a lot of folks who, if there's a way to preserve it, I think. Before my career in politics, no. But I know, obviously, there was some programs that the Emery family ran up there, some youth programs that were done up there.
Time to time,
so a lot of folks in Weymouth had been in the house as kids. I actually wasn't in the house till the first time was actually during Mayor Kay's second term. At one point, she held a little gathering up there with some state officials to talk about some ideas. And then subsequently, since I've been mayor, I've been in twice, so 3 times total. But It's a cool old house, but it's
in disrepair.
it is in disrepair right now.
I bumped into John Deedy about a week ago, who's on your committee,
Yes.
and he said it's been a real privilege and a pleasure to be on that committee. He's got a great group of folks who are...
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, you know, we have some new blood. There's a lot of people that have served on town committees for a long time. We have some people that came out of the woodwork, so to speak, on this that have some expertise. We've got builders, we've got people with architectural background, event planning background, so we got a good mix on that committee. If they can't do it, no one can.
Well, there you go. Well, listen, talk about things that are topical. Apparently, there was all kinds of news at Level Field yesterday. There was an actual groundbreaking, I think you kind of touched upon, and one of the repercussions of the new development is the elimination of the town's skate park. And we've got a question here from Mrs. L, who said, is there a chance, or is asking, is there a chance that the town will rebuild the skate park now that the one in the Jackson Square has been torn down?
Let me give you my semi-long-winded one on this one.
Please do. I know a lot of people
because I
talking
want to
about
vent, because the event was yesterday, as we mentioned, the groundbreaking. So there's been a lot of scuttlebutt on social media and some complaints from skateboard users, advocates, skate park users or advocates that, you know, what's going on here. We're not getting any questions from the men's softball league, unfortunately. Who's losing.
Oh, that won't be a softball facility on any level?
No.
Oh, I thought that would be incorporated.
Well, I shouldn't say that, because theoretically you can use some of the soccer fields. They can be lined for like a baseball or softball thing. That happens in other towns. But the Pingree Field, as it's called, men's softball diamond down there is going away. And I know you had a lot of friends. You may have played.
Yeah, I certainly had made many errors down there.
So I played in 3 different leagues through the years that have actually used that field, and I played a lot of games down there, even back when it was still lighted.
It was pretty much the softball field in town, wasn't it?
That was not just in town, for the region.
Oh, no, that was the one.
There's a regional league that still uses it. There's a group that is combined, Hingham Weymouth uses it. There's a lot. It's really in bad shape.
Yeah,
but at one time it was nice. Yeah. That had a well, it was sprinklered. That was a nice field. It was the primary field. It was lighted, so it got a lot of use. But anyway, enough of the walk down memory lane here. The process started under Mayor Kay for that particular site. Mayor Kay proposed an $18 million debt exclusion override for some capital projects in town. Close to 11 to 12 million was going to go to that facility alone.
Wow.
The town council did not take up the request, so the funding wasn't there. When I came into office, we discovered that over a couple $100,000 was already expended with consultants to come up with a design for that site, even though the funding wasn't there. And it was kind of tied in with Legion and the same firm, but $200,000 that was geared towards a plan for level. So subsequent to that, the town's Conservation Commission actually rejected the town's plan that was prepared by the consultants. So we had this strange situation here where you spent money, the town spent money on a consulting firm, the consulting firm's plan gets rejected by a town board. So,
but because there was concerns about the environment?
Yeah,
okay.
There were actually concerns that I shared, but we just said, whatever, you know, let's just kind of consider this a blessing in disguise because we don't have the money anyway, but let's look at the plan and see if there's a way to make it workable. So internally, we went through things and went back to the consultants. We think we came up with a plan that was much more cost effective. And at the same time, we had some debt coming off the books, and finance looked at what our abilities were. At the same time that was happening, we were fielding complaints from user groups about the condition of fields, what the availability was for the upcoming seasons. We held meetings. Councilor Hackett, who chairs the Parks and Rec Committee of the council, helped with these meetings. And we kind of took an assessment in what each, this isn't done willy-nilly to do these fields, what every user group in town's needs were considered. At the same time, we discovered that we could probably afford about an $11 million program without any additional debt service costs to our existing capital spending plan. So all those things fell into place, and we came up with an overall plan. Steve Riley from Recreation, John McLeod, our Facilities Director, worked hard on this, Finance. And we came up with an overall plan. We went back to the user groups. Everybody signed off on this plan because it gave them all homes. They're fighting over fields. They're going to have decent fields to play on. Everyone from soccer groups to baseball to girls softball, et cetera. We still have a couple little areas to address. Things like flag football, and some of those groups aren't 100% there yet, but we're made great strides. So throughout this process, between what started under Mayor Kaye's administration and what we did, this has been covered in Weymouth News, Patriot Ledger, WETC covered public hearings. The town council deliberated this. User groups were consulted. I've commented on it and reproduced stuff on social media. We have covered it on Mayor's Monthly Forum on cable TV at least a couple of times. It's been all over town.
It's been out there for quite some time.
And we only had only one person really stepped up that was concerned about the skate park and involved themselves in the process. And we've had a couple meetings with that person. We pledged to work with them to identify another site. It's not like we just decided we wanted to blow up the skate park. My kid loves to skate. He's been down there. But what happened is, to make everything fit at Lovell Field, and we had to scale things down because of the cost. So we're losing the men's softball field there, and we're losing the skate park. It's not like, hey, let's get rid of the skate park. There's no agenda. Some people think, they don't like the type of kids that hang there, this, that, and the other thing. It's baloney. So that's why it's happening the way it's happening. Now with this outcry and people acting surprised that they didn't know about this, I'm kind of surprised by, because it's been out there. We've reached out to people who have commented on social media and suggested they contact us, and a couple people have taken us up on that offer. I've spoke personally with a couple of people concerned about it, younger people that have used it and have that emotional attachment. And we have a meeting coming up with some of those people that have actually responded, and most of them didn't respond, I might add. They want to complain on Facebook, but then when they have the opportunity to actually discuss it with the mayor, for some reason they don't want to discuss it. So maybe it's just a venting thing, I don't know. But we have heard back from a couple people. We're having a meeting with our Recreation Department Director and those interested parties, and we're going to work with them to find another site if they're serious about working with us. Well, so that's where we're at.
As you look to redesign the facility, obviously priority's got to be given to the people who are going to use it the most. And if there's not a lot of...
Well, it's part of it. It's part of it. But, there are things getting moved around. I mean, a men's softball program is getting moved to another field, and the soccer program obviously is going to move from Riley to
is that actually the plan? Or part of the plan anyway?
Oh, yeah.
To do soccer?
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm up on those fields every Saturday. That would be a great little change.
That's a stretch calling them a field.
Yeah. Oh, I know you've been up there.
I mean, I've seen cow pastures in better condition than that field. It's ridiculous.
It's a fact.
It's an embarrassment to the town. Yeah. And we have, sanctioned leagues that come here and refuse to play on our fields. I mean, obviously there's some attention that needed to be given to them, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I think in the economies of scale marketplace too, when you go to other towns, as I do because I'm involved in the program, and you see the condition of everybody else's fields, Braintree's the easiest one to make an analogy to, not an apples-to-apples comparison obviously, but a lot of those fields are shag rugs, for heaven's sakes, compared to the dirt that we're all running around on. So that's going to be a huge lift. So there's a lot of good news in here obviously,
and I'm sure we're going to be revisiting this on the show in the future. So any skateboarders out there watching, I don't know if that demographic is hitting Ask the Mayor or not, but reach out to us and get yourself involved in the process.
And another example, to paraphrase our favorite Republican president, you can please some of the people all the time and all the people some of the time. Your job is to try to please all the people all the time. It's a sticky wicket. Well, listen, moving in a different direction, literally to the north.
I think someone's comment was, I just want to complain all the time. Go ahead.
That some people make a whole business and career out of that. So you got that going for you.
Facebook should be renamed Complain Book. Anyway, but we do find it.
I think Zuckerberg wants
a good tool to communicate. So.
All right. Well, listen. Literally in a completely different direction, conversationally, and it's on point here. I'm going to put my glasses on for this one because Barry Drew wrote in, and I presume he's in North Weymouth somewhere. He said,
I love it when people put their name on these two.
Well, certainly, yeah, they own it, and that certainly.
Mrs. L went part of the way.
This is that distinction you're just making with Facebook. This is this opportunity for people's voice to be heard for sure. And Barry's question. Germany to the Great Hill situation. In the 50s, he said you could stand on top of Great Hill and turn 360 degrees and see for probably 50 miles. That sounds like somewhat of a stretch, but we're with you conceptually. Now you can just see a small portion of Boston Harbor. Would it be possible to remove the scrub trees all around the top of the hill, maybe open it to the woodcutters for free firewood? Also, sidewalks are in need of repair on West Augusta Road from C Street to Wataga Road and O'Sullivan Park and around the school playground. Both these sidewalks are terrible, and thanks for taking my question. And I would say, because I'm up there quite a bit as well, the improvements of the park have definitely been dramatic, but obviously there's a little bit more work maybe that Barry suggested.
All right, sidewalks out of the way first, because we talked a lot about sidewalks and how we do that. In fact, WETC right now is running a show, the Mayor's Monthly Forum edition with DPW Director Ken and Cannell, where we talk about the process and how we get sidewalks fixed and roads fixed. When I came in, we weren't fixing sidewalks in this town.
Right.
We went to the council immediately, asked for an additional, we asked for $3 million in our capital spending plan, which prior to that, outside of Chapter 90 state funds and a little bit of community development block grant funds, our capital spending plan in this town on sidewalks was zero
Right.
on top of the state and federal money. And we have gone and put $3 million forward in our capital spending plan of town money to try to get caught up on things like this. It's not the first time I heard about that sidewalk. It's on our list. It gets prioritized because it's near a school, but more of the sidewalk work is getting done in conjunction with the street work at the same time. So that's probably impacting that. I'd have to look at it specifically to see where it is, but it's duly noted. As far as Great Hill, I am someone that's obsessed with clearing back. I mean, if you look back, we've cut back a lot in this town. When we came into office, if you look at like areas where the guardrails were, those old white guardrails that we've talked about, that we replaced all of them in our first year in office. That cost us just a little over $100,000, by the way, I might add. It was probably the biggest bang we got for our buck. But at the same time, we had DPW go out and cut back. And I hate seeing sumac trees. I hate seeing the invasive species kind of encroach on sidewalks and the road. I haven't been up Great Hill in the last, I don't know, 6 to 12 months, so I haven't looked at it lately, but we will. And if there's a way to do some cutback up there, we will. We actually, on cleanup day, have a crew going up there. I want to give a shout out to Keller Williams Realty is bringing all of their staff up there on Community Cleanup Day, which is April 2nd. 22nd. We're already past the 2nd. April 22nd. So maybe we can have DPW up there in conjunction with them. I know DPW is going to be hopping that day to do some of the cutbacks since we have some free labor. Give Keller Williams a shout out.
I've been there once a weekend for the last 4 or 5 weeks. One of my daughters was involved with the program Way Rec offers at the Whipple Center on Saturday morning, so I go up there to kill an hour. I think it looks fantastic, with all due respect to Barry, Drew, and in fact, I saw a deer up there, if you can believe it, about 3 weeks ago. It's not heavily forested, obviously, but there was a deer in that property, and I think it looks great. When he talks about a 360-degree view, I can't imagine that would obviously refer to the fact that
not to get off topic, I just saw 11 deer cross the street on Commercial Street in Braintree in the Landing.
You're kidding me.
It was late, it was dark, and it was just a full moon, and seeing 11 of these just cross the road as you go up the hill past 7-Eleven into Braintree.
Oh man.
Towards Union Street. 11 of them in the Landing.
Heavy. I personally love it when I see wildlife like that. There's plenty of turkeys we're all enjoying these days. There's deer running around. Some people view it as a nuisance. I think it's fantastic when I see that stuff.
Well, it's fantastic, but part of it is we've driven them out of their habitat too, and they're in neighborhoods now. So
they're on the move, that's for sure. Well, listen, it looks like there's a lot of good work that's going up there at Great Hill, and Barry, perhaps we'll take you back to the 50s sooner than later at the end of the day.
Back to the future.
All right, listen, moving on, our good buddy Jason Thayer, one of our most frequent contributors.
Has he missed anything? I think he has.
This one looks like it's a little bit more focused on the business side of things as opposed to entertainment.
No music.
Well, listen, same train, a little different track. He says, Dear Mayor, Sheriff Michael Bellotti has a great summer camp program in Braintree, which includes an outstanding ropes course, wall climbing, zip lining, etc. for kids. I know you have a lot on your plate, still being fairly a new mayor, but has a program like this crossed your mind? It seems like this is a high success for the sheriff, for Sheriff Bellotti. And I know Riley, my daughter, was involved last year, and she had a blast. Are you familiar with this program at all?
Not totally. I mean, we work with the sheriff's office on some things and his community correction stuff, and we actually have some crews coming out from the sheriff's office to help us with some projects.
Oh, Jason has referenced that in the past.
Correct.
That's great stuff.
Correct. This I'm less aware of. Some of the stuff he talks about in that program, we actually do already through Weymouth Recreation. I know that we have some new things that have been added up at Great Esker that are part of the programming there. The rope stuff and all that is up there, but it's something that we'll look into, and once again, Mr. Thayer adds to the show.
Well, that I don't know if anybody else has had their child involved. It's open to Weymouth residents. It's a huge rush to be involved with that program.
Where's the facility actually?
It's in Braintree. I don't know my Braintree roads as well as you do.
Is it down in South Braintree near the old
that mental
hospital?
Yeah, exactly. That mental care facility. Exactly. I saw, as a matter of fact, Joe Sullivan, the mayor of Braintree, was there for the graduation ceremony. Apparently, it's Braintree town property that the sheriff leases, as Mayor Sullivan explained, but it's definitely a great program.
How did you describe the property before? Did you call it a mental facility?
Well, I think it was a mental care facility, wasn't it?
I don't know. Wasn't it? I thought it was the respiratory hospital, wasn't it?
Yeah, I could be wrong for sure. But at the end of the day, Weymouth Police does do something, same train, same track on some levels as far as the Weymouth Police Junior Police Academy that they do such a great job with, without the ropes course. So there is something available for the Weymouth residents. I'm not sure when the application process is.
Even you're the driver of the show. I hate to step on your toes, but I see we're getting the signal, so we probably don't have time for another question. Save it for the next show. So I'll ask you a question. Your predictions since opening day was earlier this week. Your predictions on the Major League Baseball season?
Well, it's funny that, boy, talk about time flies. We had this conversation a year ago around this time, and it's hard not to be high on the Reds.
We'll have to go back and look at the tape to see what our predictions were.
I think I asked you that question. The shoe was on the other foot. It's hard not to be high on the Cubs and the Red Sox, but the Indians under Tito look strong, and there's no reason to think the Red Sox aren't going to be competitive all the way. I'm going to, just for the sake of nostalgia, I'll predict the Cubs-Red Sox World Series with the Red Sox taking it all. That is the Vegas line, by the way. I do keep my eye on that prize, and the two teams most heavily favored in their respective divisions are the Red Sox and the Cubs to make it all the way. Your thoughts?
I think the Indians, you're right, look like a powerhouse. They got, I think, don't they have an injury in the starting rotation, but they got...
the two best pitchers go down in September last year, and they still made it to the
They got Brantley back, who was their best player when he went down, and I think they look pretty good. My sleeper team is the Phillies, but they didn't... I thought they were going to exceed expectations, not win the division, but they were going to be like the story this year. And after 2 games, I would say that's probably not the case.
Clay Buchholz starts today, as a matter of fact, as we're sitting down to the
I'm
table.
looking forward to actually following him. Him going to a new league and everything, and playing for a mediocre team should be interesting.
There's a woman who lives on First Cliff in Scituate who was the woman for Citizens Bank who negotiated the naming rights deal for that ballpark. And I've never been. Have you been to that ballpark in Philly at all?
Actually.
Wow, people say it's amazing.
It's a nice ballpark. I used to go down occasionally to Philadelphia to see a game because I grew up, they were my National League team and the Red Sox were my AL team. And I was actually there late one year, last weekend of the year, and I saw David Cohn strike out 19 Phillies with Sean McDonough broadcasting. It was a nationally televised game or something above. It was pretty cool.
Well, I want to hear more of that. And don't forget, please, everybody, send your questions to AskMayorBob.com.
At Gmail.
At gmail.com. Thank you, Mayor. Please keep the questions coming in. And Bob and I had a quick text exchange earlier this week when Christy Myhouse died. You referenced the fact that you had some more fun stories about him. Perhaps we can hear more about those as we move forward as well.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll look forward to seeing you next time on Ask the Mayor.
If you have a question, please email the mayor at askmayorbob@gmail.com. That's askmayorbob@gmail.com. Maybe your question will be answered on the next episode of Ask the Mayor.